Alright, welcome back. So I'm going to show you a few of the settings that I have applied here in the Razer Synapse software, and then we'll jump into the game with dedicated GPU mode. So we'll start here in system, we'll go over to performance. I've got it set to custom, CPU set to boost, and I've got GPU set to high. Max fan speed mode is on. The other thing I've done is if I go into display mode, it says here you can adjust the refresh rate. I've got it set to 240 Hz. And if we look here at GPU mode, it says currently it's in NVIDIA Optimus mode, but it says to adjust these settings, I need to head over to the NVIDIA control panel. So let's open that and show you guys what I've got. If I go over to adjust image preview, I've left this as default. Nothing here has been changed, but in adjust 3D settings, I've set this to NVIDIA high performance NVIDIA processor in the hopes that maybe this does something. I can force it kind of into a dedicated GPU mode. And if we scroll down the way down here, some of my viewers have mentioned that there is a power management mode here, and I've set this to prefer maximum performance. The other option is normal. So this should try to boost it even further if that's what we need to get that 140 watts on this RTX 4060. I will now launch the game, Red Dead Redemption 2, and we'll rerun the benchmark to see if this has any effect whatsoever. If not, I'll check in the BIOS again after this to see if there's a way to switch to dedicated GPU mode only. So let's run the game and have a look at the benchmark. I did confirm online that this 4060 should hit theoretically 140 watts on this laptop. We'll leave DLSS on here in graphics settings to make sure that we're getting some comparable benchmarks. Now that I've got fans and everything set to boost mode, max fan speed, let's see what this Razer Blade 18 with the 4060 is capable of. Okay, maybe it looks a little bit promising here. Now I'm seeing 93 watts, 96 watts in this game. The CPU is boosting well above 5 gigahertz. We're looking at 52, 53, sometimes even jumping all the way up to 5500 megahertz, 5.5 gigahertz on this CPU at about 75 watts. That's pretty impressive. Let's see how the benchmark turns out at the end of this test here. Yeah, it looks like I'm getting close to 100 watts now on the GPU. It's a little surprising why Razer would tie that to the CPU boost mode with the fan speed. Why can those not be decoupled? What if I don't want to boost my CPU but rather want to push that power to my GPU? It really doesn't make sense to me here why they would take this approach, but as you can see now, we're consistently seeing 100 watts on this GPU. So that is a little bit of a performance boost. I'm still missing 40 watts of performance here. So if somebody knows what is going on, please comment below. I've been jumping all around Reddit and looking at other YouTubers' videos. I'm just at a complete loss here as to why I am not seeing that 140 watts of promised TGP power on these GPUs. This is the 4060, and I'm having the same issue with my 4070 in the ROG Strix G18 for 2023 with the RTX 4070. So let's see, we're pushing close to about 180 watts between the CPU and the GPU at this point, and the rest of the items in this laptop, the rest of the components, such as the screen, the SSD, etc., I'm sure we're well above 200 watts of power from the wall at this point. Okay, so there's the summary, 67 FPS. So if you remember from my previous video with DLSS turned on but without CPU boost mode and max fan speed engaged, you were looking at 60 FPS. So roughly this is a 10% boost of performance. I will now reboot with the machine connected into discrete GPU mode with the RTX 4060 in this machine hardwired to the display without going through NVIDIA Optimus or any kind of mux switch, and we'll see if there's any boost in performance. So I've now rebooted my machine by going into the BIOS and switching the graphics to dedicated GPU modes. And I'll just show you a few other settings in the NVIDIA control panel. So if we go here to NVIDIA settings, go to the help menu, go down to system information, you'll see here that there's a few different settings that are of interest. Particularly if you look at max Q, it says yes. Dynamic boost, it says yes. And more interestingly, the 4060 laptop here, GPU here, says that the maximum graphics performance power should be 140 watts. We're not seeing anywhere near that. So I don't know what is going on here. And additionally, for the 3000 series, it used to be that there was a feature called resizable bar, which would allow you to gain some additional performance from your GPU. But hence in this control panel here, there's no such feature. There's no mention here of resizable bar support for these 4000 GPUs as far as what I can see. And I've also checked in the BIOS on this machine, the Razer Blade 18 for 2023, as well as my 2023 Asus ROG Strix G18, and there is no option in the BIOS for any kind of resizable bar support. The only option I've seen is, and the BIOSes are very limited by the way, the only option I've seen is a switch from dynamic display mode, which uses advanced Optimus, to dedicated GPU mode, and that is about all. So now that I've rebooted with it in dedicated mode, let me show you how Razer Synapse looks. So again, if we look at the performance, we've got it set into custom mode, CPU is set to boost, GPU is on high, and max fan speed is engaged. The other thing of interest is under display, now that I've booted and I'm in dedicated GPU mode, so this GPU mode here states that it is in dedicated GPU. And the additional change is that for the screen now, I get a few more options for refresh rates. I've got 30 Hz all the way up to 240 Hz now. Before it was, I believe, just 60 Hz and 240 Hz. We're going to boot into Red Dead Redemption 2, rerun that benchmark, and see how we fare with dedicated GPU mode. And I've got some of my stats updated here, so they've just moved around a little bit, so do take note of that. So yes, NVIDIA DLSS is on, set to quality mode, all other things are on ultra. One other thing to note here is because I switched into dedicated GPU mode, so the GPU ordering changes in the machine, which causes MSI to stop displaying those metrics. I've re-added them again, but it looks like the GPU metrics have shifted down in the on-screen display, so just do take a note of that. So it looks like even lower power now in dedicated GPU mode. Maybe 95 watts, 85 watts. It seems a little bit lower. I don't know. The GPU is at 96%. I'm not sure why it's only hovering around 100 watts. So yet again, another laptop for 2023, 18 inches with an RTX 40 series GPU that does not hit the performance figures that are promised. I wonder if it's a very different story with the 4080 and the 4090. I do have a 4080 equipped Alienware coming in a couple of weeks. Please stay tuned and subscribe for that. I'm really interested to see how Dell handles that, and Alienware, gives us the performance that they're generally known for. It might be hot, it might be loud, but it will give you the performance. That's generally the known thing about Alienware. We'll see if that holds true with the 4000 series. Otherwise, this generation is a complete disappointment in my books, and you should just skip over it, because if we're told 140 watts, we're only seeing 100. That is completely unacceptable. Yeah, so even in dedicated GPU mode, with everything else disabled, services exited, no background applications, I am surprised that there's maybe a 0.9 FPS improvement, if we can even argue towards that. Probably just margin of error, but that's less than even 1%, maybe 1.5% of performance improvement. Thanks. See you in the next one.